My name's Rob Gauthier. I'm the ET Whisperer. I've been doing channeling since 2010, and I've channeled over 1,000 different different ET consciousnesses or beings. I've also channeled collectives and other types of energies, and I've done this with people, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people across the world since I've been doing it. Myself and Tyler have been co-creating together for a couple of years, and what we try to do is bring the contact to you, and that's been our big speciality. We've had a lot of energy and time with that. So in the consciousness field, for decades we've supported these people by giving them the opportunity to have experiences on the first hand, which is very beautiful. And the whole reason that we came to experience this together was the event that we did last year. I was personally able to come to Ibiza, personally in Spain, foot on the ground, and have an experience with this team. And the New Earth Frequency shared this beautiful event with many different facilitators. And I had introduced them to a few people, Tyler being one of them. And Tyler and I have been working together in Japan. We did 3 times last year, 4 times coming up in this year. So me and him have done a lot of things, including with the channel panels. So there's a lot of shared energy and partnership with Tyler and myself. And we wanted to work with the New Earth Frequency for this Ibiza event because the land of Ibiza was so beautiful. Their team is so beautiful. The group of people that they had were open-hearted and just loved to learn. So I think it's a beautiful thing to co-create with them. But there's a lot of things you can co-create with people, and a lot of those things tend to be very etheric. And etheric is beautiful, and high dimension is beautiful, but grounding it into a useful, practical, usable way is something that you don't always get. And here with the New Earth Frequency, myself and Tyler, all of us share that vision to bring the experience in a way that you can viscerally experience it and physically experience it. And some of the ways we do that are going to be how we're going to do on the retreat. For example, we have channeling and CE5s. And for those of you who don't know what a CE5 is, a CE5 is close contact to the fifth kind. We're no longer saying, hey, we want experience to co-create with ETs. We're actually calling them in so we can see the ships. But the misconceptions that are around CE5 is that it's about the ships, looking at the ships in the sky, which is a beautiful byproduct of that, but it's calling them in and getting the interconnection first. And we're also going to work through with some channeling and teach you guys how to channel and do some of your own energy work. And I know Tyler will give you a lot more detail about the energy work and a little bit about the channeling class too. But we want to bring you these tools so that you guys have the opportunity to do it also. Now, the concept about channeling or doing CE5, there is fear in the collective about that. I'm not bringing another consciousness through me. I don't know who it is. I don't know what it is. I've never done this before. Do I have enough experience? And I want to share with you, we do this in the most safe and practical way. We teach you guys how to connect to your higher self. And your higher self is a part of you. So it's a part that doesn't have any insight outside of what you need. There's no agenda there. There's no energy there. So it's important to realize this is a very safe way to do it. And it's, for most people, ends up starting with just expanding your intuition. And the CE5 is beautiful too and very safe because it comes from a distance and you get to have that connection. And if you don't want the connection, you can also tune out of it. If it gets a little intense for you, you can kind of tune out of that too. But seeing the ships is helping the mental state bring in some clarity for that. So it's very important to realize we've done this for a long time. Tyler and I have worked together for a long time, and it's a very beautiful, safe place. And what the New Earth Frequency did, they've created a community and a physical space there in Ibiza where they can hold the energy. So we're safe among friends, people who are co-creating together with the same intention and the same excitement are going to be there and be able to share with each other. So I think that's a good insight kind of on the first half of what we're doing and how we're doing it and the things that we wanted to touch on to make sure you guys are ready that you guys know what's going on and that you guys are excited to be there. So thank you.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Rob. I'll start with my first experience with the New Earth Frequency team. While Rob was working with them in person last year, they were offering an opportunity for channelers and presenters from all around the world to be broadcast to the actual live audience that was participating at the retreat in Ibiza. So I got patched in for that conference, for that gathering, and even just digitally having the transmission with everybody, I could feel the magic from the island. I could feel the love of all of the amazing people that were participating flowing forth while I was in the state. And that to me is a powerful confirmation of the auspicious energy and the path that is being laid out, not just for myself, but for everybody that is co creating this experience. Whenever me and Rob gather and do the in person channelings and the CE5s, it spiritually activates whatever location we perform those workings in. And this has been one of the most exciting things about doing so many different events with Rob in different locations, because it allows for the energy of that location to then become synchronized with contact. Some locations are already like totally compatible with contact. There's other locations where perhaps higher energies haven't been brought in for a while, and those energies can be once more uplifted. In a place like Ibiza, the energy is already incredibly high. So we get to ride the natural momentum of the energy of the land in the pursuit of contact, be that with extraterrestrial beings from alternate dimensions, or be that with your higher self. The earth, the land, and the nature is going to be one of our most powerful allies and resources in this retreat. So, the retreat center is actually located within this beautiful protected wilderness. It's a type of national park, and this is going to allow for us to have some deep communion and exclusive experiences with nature. And we're going to be performing regularly energy work, energy alchemy. This is sort of our morning yoga, if you will, to initiate the day. So before we actually take in physical food and get the digestive process going, we work with the subtle food, the energy of nature, to fully synchronize our chakras, our meridians, with the energy of the land, and to open up and awaken the system so it can be prepared for experiencing contact. So all the energy work that we train is going to expand the energy body. It's going to synchronize it with nature, and it's going to allow for your intention, your energetic requests, your desires to be broadcast into the universe. And for the CE5s, for the contact experiences, that ability to project your heart into the higher realms, the higher dimensions, that is one of the most important abilities, and it allows for the upper dimensional beings to then be able to more easily resonate with you. So the energy alchemy in yoga is my specialty. I've taught this to people for probably about 7 or 8 years now. And we're going to be going over techniques that come from the Kundalini tradition, some tantric traditions, as well as Taoist traditions. So these blended energy techniques will allow for us to fully activate the energy system. And each class builds on top of the other. So by the end of this retreat, you're actually going to have a set or a sequence of energetic movements and actions that you can perform to awaken contact long after Starbridge Ibiza. So I'm very excited to be sharing that with you guys. And in addition to all of this, we're going to be doing what we've described as quantum education. And this is where myself and Rob are going to be sharing with all the participants the energy techniques and exercises needed to enter into the vocal channeling state. And this is something we have taught before, and we have had powerful success in teaching this. And just a quick story, the first time we taught this together, it was with a non-English speaking audience. So there was a translator there. Nevertheless, there was a type of language barrier. And even with that, we were able to guide the participants, every single one of them, into the channeling state. And each person brought through tremendous wisdom. We had people channeling for each other, and we had people performing the exercises needed to really open the doors of creativity once more, because it's that power of creativity and imagination that allows the channeling state to be more easily accessed. Because the channeling state is very similar to what people call the flow state. They're almost identical. So the channeling state is the flow state brought into resonance with the higher spiritual frequencies and beings. So we're going to be offering that throughout the retreat. Each day is going to be a blending of these energy activations, channeling sessions, channeling teachings, how to channel classes, as well as CE5s. So this schedule is built in such a wonderful way. And on the fourth day, this is going to be on Wednesday, we're actually taking a pilgrimage out to one of the local sacred sites. And the name, I always hear people pronounce it slightly differently, but it's spelled Esvedra. And this location is a very powerful alchemical location. These two rock formations represent the masculine and the feminine powers. And there's also a very strong solar gateway that exists within the energy anatomy of this location. So we're going to be taking a trip out there on Wednesday, connecting with that natural earth portal and using that as a broadcast beacon for contact. Because whenever you have the polarities together, like we have in a location like this, you have the union of opposites taking place. And that union of opposites is the energy alchemy needed to produce a type of portal or stargate. So we're going to be activating and resonating with that power. And Rob was out there physically when he traveled to Ibiza for the in-person retreat. And Rob, how was that experience? What were some of the highlights and takeaways from your direct relationship with that earth chakra?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Tyler. I always love hearing you share. You always do it in such a beautiful and poetic way. I always love that about you too, and you share from the experience and the heart. Yeah, so Esvedra was a beautiful place. I went there last time I was there. Michael, Jen, Samuel, all the team took us out there, and the instant thing all I heard was this is the magnetic rock, and that's kind of like it's a very special place here. So I went in there with very little information and a lot of connection, and the intention was just to experience it. And I felt very powerful energies. The electromagnetic field was just like a little part of that. And it's interesting that you use the masculine, feminine, and both sides of the spectrum, Tyler, because that's exactly what the whole island of Ibiza is. Part of it's a very spiritual island. The other part is very well known for like clubbing and excitement and partying for younger people. But it's the same energy. It's the excitement and bringing that into your body and expanding excitement in general, and it brings that down in such a polarity. So I really love that aspect, the masculine, feminine, the polarities that exist. And I did want to touch too a little bit back on the CE5. Tyler and I also have experienced that with one another with great success. And if you want to, Tyler, share maybe a little bit about our CE5 experiences that we've done together.
Oh, absolutely. We've had some wild CE5 experiences that completely blew my expectations way out of the water. Like, I thought I was very connected to ETs and had a lot of regular contact, but when teaming up with Rob, that multiplied like something out of a movie. So the most notable one, there's been at least three or four that we've done, maybe even more. The most notable one was during our time in northern Japan. This was Amori, Japan. And we were actually staying at a wildlife retreat center. Ironically, right? It's cool to see that that was our last CE5 together, was at another nature retreat center. And there's a lot of good energy the more surrounded the environment is by nature and wildlife. And it allows for the bubble reality of the CE5 participants to express in a way where there's little interference or conflicting signals from the collective. Nature tends to act as an amplifier, so it can really broadcast the energy requests. So we were in this beautiful retreat center, very abundant with nature in northern Japan. And this whole location had a spiritual relationship with the Big Dipper. So there were many Big Dipper shrines dispersed throughout Amori. And many of you might know this, the Big Dipper is oftentimes described as the bear constellation, and the bear in this area is also highly revered and seen as one of the spiritual protectors of the area. So all that's a very important detail as we look at the CE5, because during that time, we walked out into the field that we picked to do the CE5. Before we even set up shop and like put down the blankets for everyone to lay down and stargaze, we looked up at the Big Dipper and a little UFO, looked like a little blip of light, appeared instantaneously coming from the Dipper's direction. And we were able to evaluate its movements, and it wasn't following the usual movement patterns that you expect with satellites or planes. And after that first observation, they just kept coming. And we were watching satellites and planes coming, and we could easily identify those. Then we would have essentially these moving stars that would zigzag. And there was an amazing moment where Rob was pointing at one of them, and then he began to spiral his finger, and we watched the UFO mirror that movement. So it was an incredibly vivid and, I would say, immersive interaction. And that's the beauty of CE5. CE5 is human initiated contact. So it's not like we're passive participants in the process. Our group energy is what is required to actually call them forth. And then once they're here, it's an active relationship. And many of us had visions of the beings that we saw during the CE5s, either in dreams or in meditations. And I actually had one of those beings from Japan, the first time we went out there, visit me again on another trip out there with Rob. So I had a being during our last CE5 that made contact with me. Then on the most recent trip out there, that being returned. And I had a UFO sighting with that being, and then a dream with the same being. So the ET connection is very strong, and we're going to be able to work with Ibiza in such wonderful ways to create an even larger experience, because we're getting closer to open contact as we start to approach 2027. So the nature of the CE5s during these upcoming processes are really going to deepen. It's going to start to shift towards more direct forms of contact, not just UFO sightings. So as you join us in Ibiza, you're going to find that you're a part of the leading edge of contact. You're going to be fully prepared to also assist others in your reality who are inspired about contact to also become active participants, because that's how it happens. It doesn't happen through the media. It doesn't happen through these big three-lettered organizations, right? Those are all agendas. What is happening here is our direct experience and our direct relationship creating the dynamics for what ET contact with humanity actually is. So this is the real deal experience, and we're thrilled to have you guys with us.